everybody was kung fu fighting. Ha! Hey everyone, another episode of Applesauce and Baloney coming at you. I'm Thor,
I'm Eric.
and we're talking a lot of Marvel today. We're gonna talk some Shang-Chi, and then obviously we're gonna talk about What If
No,
because
it's Shang-Chi.
that's what I said,
Shang
right? Shang-Chi,
Sean Sean Sean
Sean,
Shang-Chi.
Chi, yeah,
She
she,
She
she,
Shang-Chi.
she,
I'm sure we're still murdering it.
yeah.
But yeah, that was a really funny moment in the movie. I guess I'm an Aquafina fan now. So I guess that's a thing. But yeah, man, wow. Yeah, I finally got to see it. Made the 100-mile round trip to the movie theater closest to me because I live in the middle of nowhere, broadcasting from the middle of nowhere to
Oh
see
man,
Shang-Chi, and worth it, worth the trip.
I'm so glad you did too because I saw it Monday, the Monday after it came out, and
Yeah.
I was dying. I needed to talk to somebody about it, and it was amazing. You're like, I'm not seeing it till tomorrow night. I'm like, no. Um,
I know, and then we were trying not to talk about it the like three times we've talked since then.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I went with someone who had not a huge Marvel nut like me, but loved the Mortal Kombat movie and just kung fu movies in general. So she was excited to see that. And yeah, loved it. I mean, just on its own, forget about that it's a Marvel movie or anything. Um, what a what a film! It was fun.
well, and it is definitely a Marvel movie. You know, there were people out there saying that that didn't feel like a Marvel movie.
Hmm.
It's a Marvel movie. I got all the Marvel feels. They did all
Sure.
the tie-ins that they needed to. But you're right. This as a standalone kind of origin story movie, like we got in Iron Man, like we got in Captain America: The First Adventure, like we got
Hmm.
in the original Thor. This movie is like it's a new window into the Marvel universe for people that aren't
Hmm.
big comic book or Marvel, followers.
And so
It
that's why I say that in a good way. It's very much its own movie. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely got a lot of tie-ins to the Marvel universe. But if you haven't seen all the MCU movies, you can totally go enjoy the hell out of this movie, and like you said, it's a great way to bring people in, and just like they did with Guardians of the Galaxy, bringing us into the larger galaxy. Um, this stuff is going to start setting up mystical stuff. This is Marvel, real first foray other than Doctor Strange into, okay, here's magic, and now here's this whole other kind of magic, but it's not magic. They're just from another dimension. Just like,
right,
oh,
right.
it's not magic. It's just science you don't understand. Now we're getting it's getting everybody ready for Quantum Mania, and Multiverse of Madness. But now we're going to talk about like interdimensional beings, and so
Yeah,
that explains their magic or mystical powers. So.
right. Which I thought was really interesting. Jumping way forward in the film,
Hmm.
um, you know, Shang-Chi and Katie end up going to his mother's home of Taolo. We get introduced into this amazing magical realm that's just it's dragons, it's foo dogs,
Hmm.
it's yeah, what was the little weird faceless thing that
The furry the flying furry pig, as
yeah,
Katie calls it.
Morris, the
Morris.
flying faceless pig, um, and it gave me a lot of Thor feels because Thor was the first movie that we really got where they're like, hey, this is the world outside of Earth, this is the magic that occurs out in the galaxy, and yeah, Thor really ties more into Guardians of the Galaxy because it is a space movie. It is out in the other reaches of the galaxy. Um, but it definitely had that feel to me, and it's great that we're going to start seeing these other dimensions, other worlds. Um,
Right.
that's just going to again tie the whole thing together.
Yeah, I mean they hit you hard, and again, this has been some of our criticisms of other comic book movies is, the one thing I'd say that this movie does, but it does really well in a way that a lot of origin movies don't do, is the information dump is heavy, but
Right.
it's done it's done using so many of the tropes, and I'm saying that in a good way, of kung fu films, and a lot that has come before it, to set that up, in the mother telling the son the story of the legend of the Ten Rings. So this movie is as much origin story of Shang-Chi as also the legend of these Ten Rings. And again, jumping way forward, it's the Ten Rings are going to be important beyond Shang-Chi,
Yeah,
and they let you know that at the
absolutely.
end of this movie for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And origin story for Shang-Chi, also origin story for Wenwu, his father, the
Hmm.
leader of the Ten Rings.
Not
It's
not a chicken dish. Not
not
a
a
not
chicken dish.
not an
Also not
orange
an
chicken
orange.
dish.
Not an
Not an
orange.
orange,
Yeah.
not a chicken dish.
Um,
I mean, okay, so yeah, we're assuming you've seen Shang-Chi. But there's a lot of videos out there that can go blow by blow. So we may jump around a little bit. So on we're joking about, of course, the Mandarin, and the way this ties into Iron Man, and Iron Man, the first one, which he's kidnapped by the Ten Rings, and there's a tie-in in this movie where we see that Shang-Chi's father is responsible for Iron Man getting kidnapped. Whatever his ultimate manipulations are at that time, um, and then of course Iron Man 3, which is the villain. The whole movie is this sinister Mandarin character played by the brilliant Ben Kingsley, and then the twist at the end of that, which frustrated me at the time, is that he's actually just this silly out of work English actor,
right.
and not the sinister Mandarin. And they sort of walk away from that. But then they did a little Marvel one shot with Trevor Slattery, called "All Hail the King," in which he's essentially almost kidnapped by the Ten
Well,
Rings.
he apparently is kidnapped.
He is kidnapped.
Because we definitely find out in this movie that and it was amazing that they kept it quiet. We get Ben Kingsley as Trevor Slattery in
It was great.
the most comical role.
Out of nowhere,
Um,
I was like, they're in the dungeon, and all of a sudden it's like, all of a sudden
yeah,
there's this.
that's not where I expected that to happen.
No, I or yeah, or I thought if anything it would be a throwaway line, or something like a quick cameo. Not that he would be an integral part of Shang-Chi's team, which he
Right.
now is essentially, right? Like the ex
Yeah. Yeah.
Mandarin Trevor Slattery is it, like if you think about how Paul Rudd's Ant-Man has he has his team of hilarious sidekicks. Is Trevor Slattery now Shang-Chi's
I mean,
the ex Mandarin? Is he
it
on the
definitely,
team
it
along with
definitely,
Morris?
it definitely
Morris,
seems like it. I mean, he got to go. One he befriended a creature from another dimension,
right?
and two he got to go to Ta Lo and train and learn how to use their weapons and fight alongside them. I don't know at the end if they show him leaving Ta Lo, so maybe we get Trevor Slattery staying in Ta Lo and becoming a bigger picture down the
Like
road once we
training so
revisit.
that he's
Yeah,
believable in a fight or something. Yeah, training
yeah,
with Morris, like maybe Morris grows,
yeah.
and Trevor Slattery comes riding a giant Morris in to save
Right,
us in the
right,
next Shang-Chi movie.
right,
But
right.
no, so that brings us kind of to something I definitely wanted to talk to you about. So stop me if you're not ready to talk about this, but like Shang-Chi's power level, like let's really nerd out comic book MCU wise. Like he's as powerful as, I would say, Captain Marvel, Iron Man. Like I think he's
Yeah,
one of the big
yeah,
ones, if we're
yeah.
talking referencing the Black Widow movie, where Black
Oh
Widow's
yeah,
sister is talking about the big, oh,
yeah,
you're not
yeah,
one of the, or he's one of the big ones.
yeah.
He's definitely, I think
He's
he's got
definitely
to be
one of the
the
big ones.
with
I'm
those 10
pretty
rings. I mean,
well. Even before, and again, spoiler if
he
you haven't
rode it.
seen it.
He
Yeah,
rode a
again,
dragon. He
yeah.
rode a dragon.
Spoiler if you haven't seen it, and if you haven't seen it, why are you watching this? But he
Right.
gets the 10 rings at the end, and even before he gets the 10 rings, I would argue that Shang-Chi could take Captain America in a fight.
Sure. Or
Um,
Spider-Man,
or Spider-Man.
maybe.
And
I
then
mean,
in the end,
again,
he ends up with the 10 rings, I mean, he takes out an interdimensional soul sucker demon from beyond. I mean,
Right.
he's got
His
some
Super
stuff going
Saiyan
on.
move. His Super Saiyan move at the end of this
Yeah,
movie is
yeah.
one of the coolest moments I've had in a movie theater in a long time.
Oh, and it was,
Like
and it was and they absolutely called it out too. They said it in, they had Aquafina's character say it when they were sitting at dinner. They're like, oh, and then he did this epic Kamehameha and blew up this thing, and it's like, oh, you
mm-hmm.
totally just went there.
Mm-hmm.
They're
And that's
they're calling
yeah.
out all the things, everything that has to do with kung fu or Asian
Right.
cinema. They were using it and they were calling it out and they were making it a part of the story, and it was great.
Yeah.
We got the epic the epic fighting. I can't. Oh, I wrote it down earlier and I can't remember it now. The style of film, the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It has a name for that style.
Right.
Um,
Right. I'm blanking on it too. Again,
I'm
if
kicking
we had
myself.
my
I thought
brother
I
on
wrote
the
it
show,
down.
if we had
Yeah.
my brother, I thought about bothering my brother because he's a real Asian cinema
Yeah.
fanatic. He would probably correct me about calling it Asian cinema.
Yeah.
There's probably a better
Right.
term
Right.
for it.
Right. Yeah.
But
Please, if you're watching this and we say something culturally inappropriate, we're not
call us
doing
out.
anything to
But anyway,
diminish any of this. We
yeah.
loved it.
But
Call us
but
out and
Max,
tell us, hey,
yeah.
dummy. But I mean,
Max would,
yeah,
Max would,
yeah.
but yeah, no. So that it definitely followed. Like I said, the way they were able to pull off the info dump with the telling us a really deep and rich story with a lot of background very quickly, borrowed from earlier forms of kung fu movies
Yeah.
at various styles. It borrowed from all of them.
And it really felt like we were watching them because you get the kid growing up and they go through the training sequence and they go through him
I
learning
mean,
how to do all the things.
even Miyazaki's Magic Castle, like the maze thing, the magic maze part of this
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
which again, okay, so I'm glad you brought up Aquafina, because I'm a huge Aquafina fan now. I really hadn't. I'd seen her in the Jumanji movie. I'd seen her here and there, but really in this movie, and her character, her performance, brilliant. But her character is probably one of my favorite Marvel sidekicks that they've done, maybe since Ant-Man's character, the guy, and I'm blanking on his name, the actor who tells the really long stories that they use other people to montage around. But probably one of my favorite sidekicks, and the way they set her up from the get-go, from the moment we meet Shang-Chi and Katie, they set up that she's the what'd she say? She's the Korean. She's the Korean or Chinese Mario Andretti, or she references a race car driver and then proves it like right away. We take out they take out the car that they're supposed to be parking, in a total Ferris Bueller move, and take it for a joyride, setting up the bus scene that happens right after that. That she's able to drive the SUV through the maze, through the tree maze. I mean, it was brilliant setup, really brilliantly written, directed, performed. One of the better Marvel movies, and that's saying something. That's really saying something.
And again, you call her out as a sidekick, and when you start out in this movie, you assume that she's just going to be comic relief, or she's being set up like her grandmother tries to do. She's being set up to be the female love interest at the end of the movie or through the movie. And it turns out at the end of the movie, she ends up being just as integral to the finale of the movie than Shang-Chi or his sister.
She technically kills the dragon because she stops it from sucking the good dragon's soul.
Yeah.
She fires the arrow like Lord of the Rings style. Like no man can kill me. The desolation of Smog. She fires the critical arrow. Shang-Chi finishes it off, but it's really Katie saves the day. So
And I loved that the way that they twisted that and kind of fooled our expectations with what we were going to get from a female.
Yeah, even better than they did with Zendaya as the new MJ. They really did. They did a fantastic job with that.
Really along the lines of what we got with Evangeline Lilly for Hope Van Dyne. They set her up. She's an equal. yeah, Katie can't do the martial arts.
Hmm.
She doesn't have the 10 rings, but they set her up to, and at the end of the movie, when Wong shows up to take Shang-Chi and go, hey, there's a larger part of this universe we need to talk, he
Right.
doesn't just take him. He says, I need both of you.
Right. This is a good transition point because you bring up Hope Van Dyne. Um, I think this is a good transition, and and Wong, who's definitely part of Team Shang-Chi as much as he's Doctor Strange's sidekick at this point, I feel. Um,
Oh,
but
I,
yeah,
I,
so
I
that
don't I don't know about that. Because I mean, the scene we get earlier in the film where he's fighting the Abomination again from the Incredible Hulk movie, Ed
right,
Norton, um, and he's apparently training the
the
Abomination,
Abomination, right, he's
um,
training the
who
Abomination.
who ends up being one of the Thunderbolts or the Dark
Hmm.
Avengers,
Right,
along with uh, Black Widow's sister, whose name
right,
I'm
and so I'm saying
yeah,
Team Shang-Chi. I think Wong could side with Team Shang-Chi, uh maybe even against Doctor Strange is kind of what I'm saying. But yeah, no, they're definitely developing Wong as his own character.
yeah,
um but he's interested along with Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner, who now is no longer Bruce Hulk. He's just back to Bruce Banner, but still wearing the sling. So
yeah.
at some point, his deal with the Hulk, he's somehow reverted completely back to Banner. So I think that was an interesting note that we should probably note as well. But yes, they're talking about the rings and this beacon that's going out. This beacon is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
I feel like, again, it's going to tie into Kang. I think it's going to tie into the Fantastic Four or whatever we're doing. But it definitely sets Shang-Chi, like I said, sets him up as, I think, a power equal to
Yeah.
Captain Marvel or any of the big ones, or because
Yeah.
they've got, because Wong brought in Captain Marvel and
Yeah.
Bruce Banner, so the two
Yeah.
smartest, most universal people he could, and neither of them had a clue.
Yeah.
So
I did some looking around and uh, kind of thought on the internet is that based on the comic book origins of the Ten Rings, the original Ten Rings that were rings
okay,
before they were changed to bracelets,
tell me
um,
more.
they were originally stolen from Fin Fang Foom, who is an interdimensional dragon type character that lives out there.
Yes.
Who's um, so
And Fin Fang Foom has been, I believe, I think, like he's been in Guardians of the Galaxy.
yep.
He's been,
So
yeah, he's
so the thought out there is that it is, since there has now been a transference of power of the rings, it is now calling back to its owner to come
ooh.
claim them.
Okay, because they
Um,
don't in the info dump at the beginning of Shang-Chi, he just has the 10
he
rings.
just has them. Yeah.
They don't tell us where he got them from. And they definitely let us know at the very end of the movie, capping it off, that they're older, possibly older. Like what does Banner say, or Captain Marvel says something about, like, 10,000 years, possibly older,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least. So that's pretty. So we're talking again. Again, this also. What if it's the beacon it's sending out is to whatever is the thing in Eternals is. So
Right.
um,
Right.
who knows what it's tying into. But you brought up Hope Van Dyne. Second part of this episode is very much what if um, the Hulk crashed back to Earth, at the beginning of Infinity War, and Hope Van Dyne's father, Hank Pym, had brought some kind of quantum zombie virus back from the quantum realm,
Yeah.
and now we're in a Marvel Zombies.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, I don't know what Marvel's beef with Hank Pym is. Um,
Right? I definitely have seen all the chatter on the internet. Like, is Hank Pym the worst? We were
yeah.
joking the other day. Is Doctor Strange the worst Avenger? But apparently, angry Hank Pym
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
or obsessed Hank Pym is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
And now that they've done it twice, they did it with what if Hank Pym basically killed all the Avengers because he could, to what if Hank Pym accidentally became zombie Hank Pym um, when he went to rescue his wife in the quantum realm in the events of Ant-Man 2 and Ant-Man Wasp. And again, going back, if you haven't watched on Disney Plus the actual timeline order and you're a huge Marvel nerd like we are, I recommend watching it in order, or just even looking at the order that they place them, because Ant-Man 2 is listed, right after Endgame, and I believe before Infinity War, in the grand scheme of the timeline, the sacred
Yeah.
timeline.
Well, I mean, it definitely, due to the post-credit scene, it falls dead on in Infinity War.
Yep.
It happens, concurrent, because the snap happens, and the end credit scene at the end of Ant-Man is Hope and Janet and Hank being dusted. Well,
Scott's
he's in the
trapped in
quantum
the
realm.
quantum realm. Yep. Yep.
So I mean, it's all a definite tie-in, and it's
So
interesting because both of these Ant-Man centric episodes,
Hank
even though they're
Pym,
not really
yeah.
Ant-Man centric episodes,
Right.
really, they call it out right at the beginning. They do the intro for What If, and then they call it out right at the beginning. And both of them, they're like, it's all about hope.
Yeah.
In
It's all about
the
hope in
Avengers
this,
one, it
in this
says it's all
episode.
about hope. In this one,
Yep.
the Watcher says, it all comes down to what you would do for love and hope.
Yeah.
And they set it up in both of them, and it's a great nod to what happens in the
Yeah.
show, because hope is very important in this episode.
Yeah, and another dark what if, which I love. I mean, that's what if is all about. If you don't like dark turns, you're not gonna like what if. But I thought this was handled. The last one was the Hank Pym kills the Avengers, was very tonally very dark. Had its moments of Marvel humor, very dark. This one they did a very good job, I'd say, a la Zombieland, of
Yeah,
peppering the humor in.
yeah.
Spider-Man's little video that he does with Happy is hilarious. How does
And
survive the
basically a direct call to Zombieland. I mean,
to
he's calling
Zombieland?
out the
Yeah.
rules. He talks
Hmm.
about knowing the rules of horror movies.
Hmm. And he's
You know,
very much Jeffrey Eisenberg's character from.
yeah,
He's very much Ohio, or
yeah,
whatever Jeffrey Eisenberg's character from Zombieland is. Yeah, he's very much doing that character, and it works. The humor in the show, Paul Rudd's head in a jar, nod to Futurama, brilliant. And then with the cape, and then I got my wish, not in the way I thought, but I got my wish. I got to see the Doctor Strange cape on Spider-Man, so they fooled me there. They
well,
fooled us there.
they did they or didn't they? Because the way this
Oh,
episode
it's a double fake.
ends,
It's going to be a double fake.
yeah, it's the way this episode ends, it's very much set on a cliffhanger,
Right.
and the other ones kind of were cliffhangers, but this one
Right.
definitely ends with a to be continued.
Okay, so I'm taking out my pencil, so that means I'm going to spit some baloney here. I gotta chew on it. So yeah, going back to something we've said in almost every What If episode, I think that this Defenders of the Universe, as it's being called on the interwebs, supposed last episode, is going to be the Watcher plucking one, if not more, of our main heroes from these episodes. And you could argue Spider-Man was sort of the main hero of this
Yeah.
zombie one.
Yeah.
It was sort of, it was centered on anybody other than Hope. It was, well, and there's a very much a thing with her and Spider-Man where she's like,
Yeah.
hey, Peter, look at me one last time. Before that was so,
Yeah.
it was so,
Smile
oh
for
my,
me. Yeah.
ripped my heart out. Yeah, smile for me, Peter. So we could imagine that maybe in the future of that timeline, he does inherit, because he does ask Hope, how's it look on me? He asks Hope and Agent Carter, how's it look on me? Oh, you'll grow into it. So maybe he does, and he does get the streak, and he becomes Spider-Man Sorcerer Supreme of his timeline. Then we get T'Challa Star-Lord, and we get Nick Fury from the What If Hank Pym killed the Avengers, and
he's not just Spider-Man Sorcerer Supreme. He not only has the cape, but he has the Mind Stone.
Yes.
Vision.
Yes.
So
he's a different
being
version.
set up to be a source of a lot of strength in this universe.
Yeah, you have Spider-Man with a flying magic cape and one of the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty dope. Yeah, so like I was saying, Nick Fury from his episode, Captain Carter from her episode, and put together this what if super team, and do the thing that I parrot, myself every episode like a broken record. That I think we're gonna get the Watcher is gonna break his rule, and something even more dire than Doctor Strange, Supreme Strange, Chalupa Strange, destroying the universe, is going to cause him to put this,
Yeah.
this thing together, which it has to be all reality. The stake has to
Yeah.
be all reality, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, whether they tease zombie Thanos at the end of this, and
I know.
I gotta think
I know.
I gotta think that this is all culminating with
Zombie Thanos is going to be the worst.
with zombie Thanos, getting hold of the Infinity Stones, and the Watcher having to stop him from erasing everything.
Right. Well, but see, they've done, and you're right. Maybe there's an evil team from all these realities, led by a Kang again, and it's all about Kang. I need to get a crazy next time I talk about Kang. I'm gonna have a crazy cardboard sign. It's Kang. It's Kang. No, it's I'm sure you'll put up a graphic, for me to be crazy to Kang about. But no, because they've done it in every episode too. It's just as each episode's focused on a person, about half of the time, if not more, on these episodes, the Watcher finishes it off like, "All right, T'Challa, Star-Lord, but maybe it's the end of the universe." That's my Jeffrey Wright impression. And just like this one, is it, or is it the end of the universe? So I think you could be right. Maybe it's a zombie Thanos. Maybe it's the Thanos that comes to Star-Lord. Maybe it's all the Thanoses. Maybe it's Kang. But whatever
Kang is 100% your Mephisto. You're gonna die on that hill.
I'm telling you, it's Kang. That's gonna. I would not be surprised. You're gonna owe me $1 if Kang is in the last episode, because I'm gonna have so much told you so for that episode. But anyway, like, we'll do a thing where you can hand it off of your screen and I'll pretend to take it.
Yeah, I'll just push
I'll pretend
it like this,
I'll pretend and I'll
yeah.
take it like okay.
Yeah.
All right, back on track. What if zombie Avengers, Vision, man, again, and then they key in on WandaVision too. We come back to Vision and Wanda's love and hope for each other.
And that's something I wanted to talk about too. Is this show is doing such a great job with all the callbacks. Like, if you're a heavy MCU fan and you've been watching all the movies and you're watching all the one shots and you've watched the shows on Disney Plus, they're giving you all the stuff.
We're getting all the stuff
because they definitely call back to WandaVision. We get the flip side of what happens. The Vision doesn't die, Wanda dies, and we get to see that Vision goes just as far off the rails for Wanda as Wanda does for Vision.
And he goes all mad scientist like it. And this episode hit all the zombie movie, just like we were just talking about with Shang-Chi hitting like all the Asian kung fu movie genres. Like, this boy did this. Boy, did this hit all the zombie movie things. You've got your you got to get to your abandoned army warehouse. You've got your hanging out on rooftops.
You're in the trains. You have to it's the zombies are outside the gates. We even get a call back to Buffy the Vampire Slayer with the little zombie that walks across when Peter Parker's doing his little movie thing. Everything that's monster zombie movie related, they definitely key on.
They hit it.
And they do such a great job of doing that.
And every episode, so every episode has an oh crap moment for me. Like when Thor takes the arrow, I think probably is my oh crap moment in that. But the oh crap moment for me is Captain America stepping out of the quad jet in the flashback and going like, "All right, everybody!" Ah!
Right.
I was like, "Oh, and just like little angry zombie Hank Pym.
Yeah,
Just
see,
I'm just like, oh, I get that. That's how that happened. Okay, all right.
yeah, the part that got me kind of like that I was excited for is when they tease the shadow of the Falcon kind of rising up at the bottom of the TV when Bucky's walking
Mm,
around with the Koye, and
hmm
you see that and it's like, oh man, because we know that Bucky and the Falcon, everything they've been in, they've been in conflict with until the
Yep.
end of the Falcon Winter Soldier show. So knowing that combat was going to come again, and then getting that combat, and then just the total blow off at the end when Okoye kills Falcon. And he's like, "I'm sorry, he
Oof.
was your friend," and just I like it. It called back to Loki almost. He's like, "Oh, don't you know Ragnarok happened?" Yes, very sad. Anyway,
Yeah. Well,
we,
and his
we
response and Bucky's response was classic. If you've seen Falcon Winter Soldier, really funny. Like, I feel like I should be sad, but I'm not.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, we get Spider-Man and trains because apparently Spider-Man has, like every movie
That was a
Spider-Man's
great
in, he's doing
callback
something
scene,
with trains.
and
We
that
get
was
the
a great
trains all stuck
callback.
up in the webs, and then we have him dealing with the train down in the station.
Right, and I didn't think about it, but you're right. That's a very interesting and cool callback to again to the Spider-Man trailer.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if there's anything I like to talk about more than Kang, it's Spider-Man. Um, what a callback to Toby. That's Toby Maguire's Spider-Man.
Well, it's
That's
Tobey Maguire's. If I'm not mistaken, Andrew Garfield deals with
a
trains in
train.
his movies,
Hmm
and now in the new Spider-Man trailer, we get Spider-Man facing off against Doctor Strange on
In
a
a
train.
super train,
Yeah,
a super
yeah,
train, a
yeah.
super magic
So
train. Not the
so I
Hogwarts
mean,
Express either.
yeah. So
Uh,
maybe trains are Spider-Man's kryptonite. I don't know. Um,
right? That's his nemesis. His
yeah,
nemesis is
yeah,
trains.
yeah. It's not the Green Goblin. It's
It's
trains. It's like
trains. Yeah.
and that.
Yeah. If anybody has bigger trouble, if anybody hates trains more than Spider-Man, it's
Right.
Godzilla.
But I
But
mean,
yeah,
but I mean, while we're talking about Spider-Man, let's talk about we get the first Marvel Cinematic Universe drop of Uncle Ben.
right.
We get a very sad Spider-Man talking about everyone that he's lost in the past,
Which is really the
and
first time he talks about it. I think he mentions it maybe once in the live action
he
Spider-Man.
doesn't.
Like
They have not mentioned Uncle Ben. They mention Uncle
even
Ben's.
Aunt May, has
Nope.
him.
No one mentions Uncle Ben
Really?
in the MCU. This is the
Hmm.
first mention of Uncle Ben, other than knowing that there's an Uncle Ben, us knowing that he didn't give us the great power, great responsibility, saying in this movie
Well,
in
so
these
what if
movies.
there's
Um,
not? What if this Peter Parker? What if there's not an Uncle Ben? But because even
well,
this
well, I
one,
mean,
even this Spider-Man,
there obviously is because he mentions that he's lost Uncle Ben.
well,
Um,
this Spider-Man, but this isn't our. This is an alternate Spider-Man.
very
Mentions
very
Uncle
true,
Ben.
very true.
I'm nitpicking. I'm being very.
Yeah.
But
No, I mean you're 100% correct because this is
but
this is not this is not our Peter Parker from the MCU. This is
well,
Peter
and you and
Parker
I've yeah,
in a
and you and I've
multiverse.
talked about it. We've talked about this Spider-Man. They've kind of done it backwards. So I expect Far From Home for them to be to give us something of his origin story, because there was no
Yeah,
origin really in the first movie. The set, we're getting to know Peter Parker the character, but as far as his origin, like what made him Spider-Man before Tony Stark found him, we haven't yet known. And will they? I think they might. It might be a surprise thing that somehow this other this Far From Home, this Spider-Verse thing, that we're gonna get, because he's gonna meet, if everything we think is true, he's gonna meet these other Spider-Men. And so we're really gonna get into who is,
yeah,
where did Spider-Man's powers come from in this
yeah,
universe, and maybe they're gonna play on our expectation that there is an Uncle Ben, that it is the standard thing that we saw with Tobey Maguire, with Andrew Garfield, which was so refreshing about this Spider-Man. But I don't know. I want answers. I want all
yeah,
the answers, and I might not get
yeah,
them, but I
yeah.
I do want them.
But I mean, just going back to What If, getting off of the Spider-Man train, Spider-Man train.
Yep.
Uh huh.
You did
Um,
that on purpose.
I I didn't, but I did.
Put a quarter in the
Um,
jar.
but it's again, I love all the callbacks, and I love kind of the way that they transferred the team. We don't
Hmm
have an Iron Man, we don't have a Captain America. You know,
Right.
we don't have a Hawkeye, but they gave us the Avengers or the Revengers or whatever you want to call this team. They rebuilt it because you know Happy had the little hand repulsor unit that we had in Iron Man, no in Civil War. You know,
Right.
Bucky ends up getting the shield and basically, as far as I'm concerned, becoming Captain America.
Oh, sure.
Uh,
He has to be the new Captain America because okay, you know, murdered zombie Falcon. But
yeah,
yeah, no, and well, but really in every other What If episode, uh, the Avengers also survive. Even the one where Hank Pym kills all of them, pretty much. Nick Fury basically is becomes an Avenger because you know Coulson's like, nope, there's one more name on that
yeah,
list. So he starts it. We get you know Hawkeye at the end of that, and so we assume he's putting an
yeah,
Avengers team to get rid of Loki. So in every episode, you know, in every you know
yeah.
Star Lord's crew is essentially the Ravagers, or essentially the Ravengers.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Yeah, there's
the
always an Avengers.
there's always an Avengers, like Kang says, like Kang says in Loki, crazy face. Yeah, just like Kang says in Loki, those pretentious Avengers, they're in. He doesn't like them, but they have to be in the sacred timeline
Yeah,
for some reason. So I
yeah,
think we're gonna figure that out.
yeah. Man,
But
I'm gonna drop a tally down at the bottom of these episodes for a Kang count. I'm just gonna run
you
across the screen. How
you
many
should do
times
it for this one. You should do it.
Yeah.
It has to be ding, ding, ding. All right. Bet you I scored at least double digits, at least 10.
Oh, I'm sure because you said Kang like 7 times in a row. Yeah, yeah.
And then you have to have a tally of how many times I got you to say.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, that's our what if. That's our what if Shang-Chi was the greatest Marvel movie ever made episode. And zombies.
and so much more to talk about. I mean, we
Right.
didn't touch on so many things.
We
We'll
didn't.
probably pepper in.
We
more
never
stuff.
do. We
We'll
never
probably
do.
pepper in more stuff as we're talking other properties because it was so amazing.
It's all tied together.
I want to go
all
see it
tied together.
again. I want it to be on Disney Plus. I'm mad it's not on Disney Plus. I'd gladly give Disney my $30 to be able to watch it
Right.
while I'm sitting on my couch right now.
But I'm also glad they're putting stuff back in the theaters. I hope everything keeps going the way that it needs to go, so that I can go see Eternals, which is the next thing that I'm going to obsess about now. Because no, this movie did a really good job. The one of the most satisfying post credit scenes, as far as like getting me hyped for what's next, in the MCU.
Because they're definitely setting up the future. They give us, you know, Sean and Katie get together with the Avengers, and then at the end they tease that somewhere down the line we're going to see more Ten Rings with Shang-Chi's sister. I'm excited. I'm excited for all of it. I've been excited for all of it. I'm excited for Eternals. I'm excited for Spider-Man. I'm excited for Doctor Strange. I need all of it to be now, but I'm glad that it's not now because then I'd run out of it and I'd be mad that there isn't more of it.
Right.
But I mean, you know, I'm on board. I'm on board with all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't talk about Shang-Chi's sister enough. Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to talk about the martial arts. I wanted to talk about the stunt coordinator and how he was tied into all the Jackie Chan movies. I wanted to talk about the guy that plays Wen Wu. I wanted to talk about Michelle Yeoh.
Sure.
We're
Oh
just
yeah,
not
well
gonna
yeah,
do
Michelle,
that because it's going to be an hour more of us talking about this. So
well,
so we're going to wrap up.
Yeah, Michelle Yeoh teaching him real quick. Michelle Yeoh, one of the coolest scenes I've seen in any kung fu movie is the opening the hand.
The reteaching.
And the opening of the hand. He's like your sister.
He's sitting there in his tent.
My mother was the only person that could defeat him. Show me how. And when Shang-Chi's father and his mother are falling in love, that's what she does. She gets him to relax. He forgets.
It's taking all the internalization and the anger and the grief and opening it up and
Great.
I mean it's the symbology in this movie was on point. But again, we could talk about this for 3 more hours. We're not going to do that to you. We know that you're tired of listening to us already.
Believe it or not, we have real lives and we have to get back to them right now.
So we're gonna wrap this episode up. Thanks for joining us. Again, keep checking back. We're going to drop an episode every Monday. Every so often, we'll drop a little extra episode when we feel like there's too much that we want to talk about. So, stick with us. Follow us on Facebook. Like,
Please,
share, and subscribe on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
We started Instagram, so if you're an Instagrammer, definitely follow us on there. But we hope you're along for the ride because we are too.
All right, thanks, man. We'll see you next time.
All right, till next time.